Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a second puberty. I have removed the my second puberty from the title because I am super excited that going forward, I am joined by my super amazing friend, Nick North, because I've realized that it is super hard for me to manage discussions on my own, and I'm only willing to do so many solo podcasts before I realize I've started talking about my cat and what my cat means to my transition. And I think that there are going to be so many useful discussions that Nick and I have with guests sometimes too. And what I realized was that before I even pressed record on this, Nick and I were rambling about discussions. And then I was like, wait, we should maybe just record this and have these discussions as part of this podcast. So without talking anymore, I am going to let Nick North introduce himself a little bit. So thank you, Nick, for being a co-host of a second puberty.
A second puberty. It's so exciting. I feel so thrilled that you invited me to do this with you because we've talked so much off the record about things like this over the years through Instagram. And I am not the person, I'm not good at details. And so the fact that you will be the machine behind all of this and that I can just show up and talk to you about all these things that we want to talk about behind the scenes anyway is just such a treat. Um, because it's something that we got lucky enough in some sort of strange way to get to do puberty twice. And
It's
when
true.
you do it as an adult and your brain is fully formed, it's like a whole other trip, I think. And so and when you get to do it the right time, like the right way, the right it's like a whole exciting thing. I think when I went through puberty the first time, I hated it so much that the idea of going through it this time with being thrilled to go through each experience is really an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that part of what we had discussed when talking about doing this idea also is talking about some of the stories that we haven't rehearsed and shared outwardly
Mm-hmm.
in some of our platforms already. So just like getting able to have discussions with one another that isn't like part of that, you know, like the pronoun discussion or some of the things that we've talked about many times before. Things that are important, but that we've kind of come to the part of like having a pretty rehearsed answer for and everything.
Yeah.
And, kind of getting into just that day to day discussion piece, which is hopefully going to be super fun and probably will make me cry many times. But hey, that's part of the puberty part I've started to realize.
That's part of the puberty part. You'll
Yeah,
cry and maybe I'll punch a hole in the wall.
exactly. And
It'll be great.
as we'll share together, there will also be everyone will maybe be frightened or excited with hopefully a video component along with this as well. So you may even get to see Nick punching a hole in the wall. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that? How great that would be. So yes,
Probably I would just cry after I punched the hole in the wall because my hand hurts and I'm a little
exactly,
delicate. Yeah.
exactly. So we were talking a bit beforehand about Colorado Springs and
Yeah.
how we wanted to move forward discussing what we had previously planned for this and the difficulty of choosing to move forward um, with topics like a second puberty and holiday lists and how we would have done things differently if you know the list we would have liked growing up and the list that we'd put together now, and then how things change in a news cycle. And then talking about the feelings of responsibility as trans people and how to also share trans joy and happiness and kind of like the confluence of
Yeah.
all of these different things at once. And they're just like big feels that we want to absolutely acknowledge in this space.
Yeah, I was thinking when we were getting ready to come talk, I was making my tea and I was thinking about like, oh, second puberty and Christmas. And then I was like, oh, all those kids, because I think of them as kids because we're grown-ups here.
Right, of
And
course.
you and I are parents ourselves, and
Yes.
so
Yep.
anyone under the age of 35 is a child in my mind.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I'm only 37. It's funny. It's fine. But still, I'm like, oh, those sweet kids at Club Q, and then I was like thinking about all that. No wonder I don't love going out to clubs. I don't want to go dance my heart out. And like, shouldn't I want to go do those things? Those are the kinds of things that you're supposed to do in puberty. Like, I didn't go to clubs and do the whole scene like that when I went through puberty the first time because I couldn't actually be myself there anyway. And so that wasn't appealing to me. And then now as an adult, I'm so afraid. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, oh, because I'm afraid. I am afraid to go to places like that
Right.
because that's where they come for us,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think what we had talked about too was there is that, uh, like internalized fear that exists, and these things
Mhm,
happen, and it reinforces that. And it's like,
mhm,
and I was seeing some tweets or things on Instagram shared of like people want us to exist only in private spaces, and then things like this happen in our private spaces, and it just shows
mhm,
that people just don't want us to exist at all. And it's these really difficult feelings. Like, I mean, yesterday I just saw some of the illustrations of um, the victims and just started crying while getting a pedicure. And it was just like,
mhm,
it's such difficult and complex feelings that just come up when, just thinking about the spaces that you're just trying to exist in. And like
mhm,
transitioning in my 40s, it's just been like, I just want to grow my hair long and not walk down the street and have people like yell at me. Like there's like really, really simple things that you're asking
mhm.
for safety wise, that you see
Yeah,
things and you're like, oh, Jesus, like not asking for big things here, right? So it's been so many feelings that come up so frequently about
mhm,
the feelings of safety and happiness and needing safety to feel happy, needing happiness to feel safe, and all of these things combined. And it's just so tricky to manage through constant reminder of how present maybe the feelings of violence and everything are. And this is even as really privileged, like white people, that this is
yeah.
happening,
We are
right? So,
privileged, like middle class white folks in Canada,
yeah,
right? Like we are for trans people. We are pretty like we're very lucky.
yeah,
We're really privileged, and yet I still the feeling of danger still exists
sure,
around every corner. You know, and my feeling is are probably different. My experiences are different. I people don't yell at me on the street anymore. That was a thing that happened early in my transition and whatnot. But that doesn't happen now. Now it's like I go to the bathroom and there's only urinals, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this?
yeah,
It mm, it's different. It's I am still so privileged that I don't have that experience anymore.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but I guess all I'm saying is that like the danger is real. It's not just bathrooms. It's not just someone heckling us on the street. I can deal with those things. I can, that doesn't, it's not great. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't, but like I can overcome that. It's when you come to hunt for us in our own safe spaces that like, I don't know how to deal with that as a person.
yeah, yeah. There is that. That's just that's just it. There, and this is, I think, how we got to the point in our discussion together of
Hmm.
there needs to be space for us as well to continue having discussions about other things, or else you
Yeah.
continue in this loop of I don't know how else to continue with doing life if I just focus on the things that don't feel
Hmm.
good or safe. And that's the kind of thing that led us to being able to talk about some of the things that did feel like we can continue and will continue to talk about some of the
Hmm.
topics that we'd previously discussed, acknowledge a lot of the things that are feeling terrible and feel hard, and move forward in continuing to talk about this Christmas list idea that we had discussed because it was a
Right.
lot of fun when we sat down and talked about it. And
Uh-huh.
the idea of still having fun doesn't go away for us because we
Because
feel
something
unsafe
bad
sometimes.
happened.
Exactly, yeah. And so something bad happening doesn't remove the idea of trans people still getting to feel the happiness when those opportunities present themselves. And I think that's how we had kind of come to the idea of like, yeah, let's talk about
Let's do
this
it
and
anyway.
still do our discussion around um, holiday lists and stuff. So
Yeah, because we deserve more than just surviving.
yeah,
And we are more complex people than just the trauma that happens to us.
yes.
And we deserve joy. And what more joy is there than gifts?
Da da da! What a segue! Look at that. See, I never would have been able to think about that on my own. This is imagine me just sitting here talking as part of a solo episode. What a nightmare that would have been.
I
Um,
mean, me too.
yeah. So we had talked about the idea of um, putting together a list of some things that you asked for as a kid, would have liked
Hmm.
to ask for as a kid as well. And then we talked
Hmm.
about the idea of putting together a little bit of a list of things that you would ask for now as well. A little more general. It may not be
Yeah.
specifically what you would ask for, although I
Hmm.
did kind of maybe turn mine into it, what I would ask for a little bit. Um, just in case anyone's listening and thinking that they would like to send me everything from my list. Um, so I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share first, because mine ended up being, um,
Like, you go first. You go,
well,
girl.
okay. Let me share. So I asked for shoes a lot when I was
Hmm.
younger, and honestly, I got shoes a lot. Um, I think maybe what the difference would be is although I still do like I asked for Reebok pumps. I got Reebok
Hmm.
pumps. I asked for some pretty cool athletic shoes, and I still think that athletic shoes are pretty rad. But I don't know if you watch. Uh, Now I can't even remember the name of the show because now I'm emotionally overwrought. Um,
Mm.
but the idea of getting more feminine shoes, definitely that idea is something that
Hmm.
resonates with me. I know I have pictures of myself wearing my mom's heels around the house.
Hmm.
And so that is something for me, and definitely more feminine clothing. Uh, so I'm still huge on these are still things I would ask for today. Um, so I didn't. But then I also asked for a lot of video games and got a lot of video games.
Hmm.
The thing for me that, and now this is like a more serious kind of thing, I suppose,
Hmm.
but like truly the thing that would have been really helpful to receive would have been things like information. So I grew up like as a kid in the 80s, so I'm 43 now, and would
Hmm.
have needed things like hormone blockers in the 90s. So access to
Hmm.
information about like trans people
Hmm.
existing would have been it. Like I know that you have
Hmm.
the book that you have.
Hmm.
Books didn't feature us back then, so I had a bunch of like Care Bear books and everything that just had like that I loved, but
Hmm.
it was not presenting information the way that we talk about. trans youth now, or at least the way that
Yeah.
it can be presented. So
We
just
literally didn't
yeah,
know we existed, and it's hard to imagine yourself and find yourself and put
exactly.
words to yourself that you could tell your parents about
Yeah,
when you don't know that you exist.
yeah.
I literally had no clue that we existed. I
No,
didn't know
no,
that there was anybody else on the planet that was like me.
no. I just didn't have. I had no concept of the idea. So it was just that really basic um, lack of understanding
Hmm.
and just being presented with it's difficult to think about the kind of impact that just seeing a trans kid in a book growing up could have had, and knowing that that was something, right? But and being able to put words to it and being like, wait a second, that is something, like that is, there are people like this. So like that to me is a reason um, to be continually sharing this kind of information
Hmm.
outwardly and putting it in front of kids and making sure that not just so that they know that we exist as people out there, but so that they see it growing up and have that
Hmm.
information accessible to themselves as well. Because it really was not something that existed. And that kind of information was something that, boy, as a gift would have been super, super
Hmm.
amazing. So, yeah, those are some of the things for me. I remember me and my brothers used to unwrap gifts before it was Christmas, and we'd wake up at like 5 in the morning and go downstairs and
Hmm.
play like the Nintendo games, and then rewrap the presents, and then put them back
That's
under the tree.
fantastic.
And then with my on Christmas morning, my parents would always be surprised at how good we were already at the video game. How did you get to like the end? Like, I don't
I mean,
know.
let's
Yeah.
just talk about parenting in the 80s and how
Mhm.
much easier that was. Let's just like the I feel like just the ignorance is bliss of the 80s was spent it must have been much easier to be a parent.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I think I just finished watching like
It's
this.
like my kids could not get away with that.
No, they just could not have, right?
They
Yeah,
just no, there's
yeah.
not a
Well, and I'm
chance.
still up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so there's also no
Right?
chance that my kids could
No.
get away with that. No chance at all. So,
Mm-mm.
so yeah. How about you? I remember you told me something about GT Snow Racer,
I
so I'm
wanted a
expecting
GT
that.
snow racer so
Yeah,
bad. So
yeah.
bad. So some of the things I remember my best Christmas ever was the year I got a Sega Genesis. It
Oh,
was like I feel like I think it was the only year I ever actually felt seen
right.
in Christmas. And I think
Yeah,
because as as much as it was like an ungendered gift, I was just like I am Sonic the Hedgehog. That is who I am.
yeah.
Mm, Tails is my sidekick,
Right.
and we are so fast and ooh, we are so cool. And I freaking that was my best year yet. I was like 10 or 11, I think, and it still stands out as the Christmas of all Christmases.
Right.
And it wasn't so I got we didn't have a lot growing up. So that was the fact that we had I got a Sega Genesis was also very it was above industry standards, so to speak, for my house. Probably I think actually what happened is my mom won big at bingo that year, like a week before Christmas, and so I got to get the Sega. Um, but the other things that I wanted is I wanted more Ninja Turtle stuff. I really wanted overalls one year, and I got overalls, but they were pink,
Mm,
and I was like,
yeah.
no, why would anybody want baby pink overalls? That's a terrible choice. And then I just got in trouble all the time for getting them dirty because they were pastel pink.
Sure. Yeah. So close.
What do you
So
think is
close.
going to
Yeah.
happen when they're pastel pink and you
Yeah.
give them to a kid? Um, I wanted a suit, but I'd get a dress. It was
Mm,
a lot of that like, oh, here's your like my mom really likes to dress me up, but even so we didn't have a lot of money, but the money we did have, she would spend on like a nice dress and then be like, "Great." And I would be like, "Are you kidding me? I'm not putting that on my body." And then we would have an entire argument and fight and battle over it. Um, but
Very much a Christmas Story, putting on the bunny costume, fighting over it.
yeah,
Yeah, pink even
exactly.
so.
Yeah. Um, and a lot of my big wounds around gifts actually aren't from Christmas. They're more from like Easter and from things like that. I would always visit my dad. So my parents got divorced when I was 2, and my dad had a new family with 2 boys. And like one year I spent Easter there, and I was like, all right, it's like me and all the boys. Surely I'll get a great gift for Easter this year. And it was like a butterfly. I got a butterfly net and a bunch of like pastel like
Yeah.
eggs, and like it was like the most I think that my stepmom was like, "Oh, there's finally a girl in the house." And like it
Oh
was
my God.
literally the
Yeah.
worst things that I could have ever imagined
Yeah.
receiving, and I remember just bawling my eyes out, and my dad being so angry at me that I was being so ungrateful, and me just being like, "But like you don't even see me that you got," like I just kept yelling, "You got me a butterfly net?" Like, and I think I was 13. So it was like, it wasn't like I was like 8 either. I was like big enough that I was like, okay, it's going to be something great. I was really hoping for a skateboard.
Sure.
Um, and instead I got the butterfly
A
net.
butterfly net.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a hard year for me. But like, I think the thing that was hardest was that I just felt like you don't even see me. It wasn't like I was ever asking for truly like I didn't ask for GI Joes. I was asking for like a GT Snow Racer, which technically should be a genderless toy. It's a toboggan for Americans. That's a sled. Um, but like it's just a thing to go down snow with. It's that shouldn't be a gendered thing. Uh, Wanting like overalls. Why did they have to be made
I
pink?
know.
What
Yep.
who like they sold plenty of jean overalls even for girls if you wanted to like stick gendered.
Yep.
But like did you have to make them pink? And like really a butterfly net that was the best you could do? You couldn't
Yes.
even just go with just like chocolate like the traditional, you know what I mean? Like
It's like,
it I just felt so erased and
yeah.
unseen.
And that's, I think, a lot of the time it's like not just the thing, it's like the situations I can envision people putting you into with these things,
Mhm.
like with a butterfly net. I mean, what are you imagining? Like,
Like, what have
what
you
are you
met me?
picturing? Yeah, like what are you thinking of in that situation? It's like I can imagine Sonic the Hedgehog like that. That
Mhm.
situation makes sense, but like what?
Yeah, and that once again, that's not even a gendered toy. That's like video games, especially at the time in the 90s. It would have been like 95. That was like all the rage everywhere. Like everyone wanted
Yeah,
those. It wasn't like just a boy thing or a girl thing. And I was like, okay, so like there were options that didn't have to break the gender.
right.
I was providing options that didn't have to break a gender mold so terribly.
Yeah. The Sega Genesis, I think, was my favorite of the video game consoles. It was the last one I truly played, actually. So after the
Yeah,
Sega
everything
Genesis,
after that was over for
I
me.
never really played video games anymore.
Hmm.
So it is that kind of system. That is my legacy system. I remember playing
There you go.
NHL games on it as Mario Lemieux, and I could score like 100 goals in a game with one move. And I was like, this is
Yeah,
bad. I've never
I had a
played anything so
basketball
fun.
game,
Oh, is
the
that right?
NBA basketball game or whatever, and
Yeah,
I was always Muggsy Malone. I
yeah.
don't know why I chose Muggsy Malone.
Is
I was
like
like,
NBA
Jordan, forget
Jam or
him.
something? Yeah,
Yeah, it was something.
yeah,
It was like something like that. It might have
yeah.
even been like a Steve Madden NBA, like back
Right.
when Steve Madden had like
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
the monopoly on all sporting
Every
games,
game. Yeah. If there was a
every game there
sport,
ever was.
that's what it would be.
He
Madden.
was like
Yeah.
It's yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a lot of that. I had a I I one year did get a bunch of pogs, and that felt really good to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember pogs, like the
I
things, the little
definitely remember
discs that
Pogs.
you would.
Yep.
And then I lost them in the bathroom at school.
Oh,
I left them. You know when you
was it?
like leave something behind somewhere? I left my pod container, and I
Yeah.
couldn't. I cried
Never
so
got
hard
it
for
back.
never got them back. No, no one
Yeah.
ever returned them. They stole them.
Of course, they just found free Pogs.
Right? It
You
was
you
it was
never
Oshawa
you
in all
never
fairness.
stood a chance. You never
You
stood a
never
chance.
stand a chance leaving your things behind in Oshawa.
No, you were
It's a hard
done.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um. So translating all of this into 37-year-old you, what are some of the things you'd suggest? What would you put on your list now, more broadly?
You know
And
what?
maybe let's take turns. Like, well, you don't have to share a whole
Yeah.
list. You can share some
Mm.
things that you would put on your
I was
trans mask list.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I have done a pretty good job in the 6-ish years since transitioning of
Yeah,
reparenting myself on a lot of those things. So I've given myself a lot of the things that I really wanted.
yeah.
Um, I bought a basketball net
Okay.
and basketball for our kids and myself. But I like Epic really wanted the basketball net too. So it wasn't even just selfish. We all got it.
Right.
That felt
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Um, uh I did like the first couple years, I had a lot of the like, let's get a fancy razor, or
Yeah.
I got a nice like real leather wallet that had my initials monogrammed into it. Like things like that felt like really affirming gender wise,
Yeah.
um, more like teenage sort of stuff. And you know what? One of the things is that I've never gotten that I still really want. I don't know if you remember this. Shoppers Drug Mart in whatever all the years when we were teens, they would always release these like teen packs, you know, the ones, and it would be like in a plastic bag or something, and it would have like a little bit of mouthwash and like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
deodorant and
Yep.
like,
Yep.
but it was like all these like very gender. It was like there was a guy one and a girl
Yes,
one,
of
and
course.
I
Yeah.
always got the girl one to start back to school and for
Yeah.
Christmas for whatever reason. That was like a stocking stuffer type, like it would go beside my stocking. And I just want that boy one. Just give it to me. All
So
I
you have
want is that
not
I've
yet had
not
that.
yet received my starter
Right.
to like school, like back to school or
How
Christmas
to
boy.
teen boy. Yeah.
Had a teen boy. And I mean,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even want to wear most of it now. It's like Axe deodorant and
Yeah.
like, but there's still something about like going into a store and being like, look, there's this section just for me.
Yes.
And they have all the things that I need because they see me and they put together a special care package just for
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
And I know it's not just for me. I realize that it's for me and the other 15 million
No, I don't think so.
males.
No.
It's just for me.
I do believe that it was or is
They
now
curated that shit.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Has
for
always
me.
been just for you. Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where I'm like, that's like but I've never seen them at the right time, at the right place. I mean, I
Yeah.
live on a remote island. They don't have those things around
It's
here.
true. Yeah.
But, that's the like, I'm like, little me. What
Yeah.
about you? You have one of those?
I mean, again, a lot of my list is so. I mean, I'm in actually. Now that I think about it, yesterday was year one officially of hormone replacement therapy. So that you're just talking about 6 years. So I'm now
Woo!
1 year down of the hormone replacement officially. So that is exciting. So I guess I'm officially into my second year of that piece. Social
Get
transitioning
it.
a little longer. The hormone piece. The hormone piece though leads me to the bra section. I mean, the bra part
Mm,
to me has just been a true adventure. And I was talking to Andrea because I have no like social cues. I don't take any too many like mental disorders for me to really understand how to interact with humans. So I was talking to Andrea about like giving gift lists to people, and Andrea's like, No, like bras are not things you ask like your family members for and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, like, so
Thank
like,
goodness for wives to tell you, like,
yeah, yeah." We
no,
were
that's like
talking
a
about this
personal.
thing, and Andrea's like, "No, you buy those yourself." And I was like, "Oh." I kind of just wanted to ask my brothers for some. I thought that would be really hilarious to do and things. So, um, that was kind of
I
something that
mean,
was
it
top
is
of my
kind of
list.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I thought part of it would be that, and part of it would be like I really like the bras I have right now, but I don't want to pay for them, so I'm gonna give
Hmm.
them to my
Gift
brothers.
cards, maybe.
Yeah, like some kind of like
Yeah.
now that I've realized that socially that's not something one does.
Yeah, dudes don't love to buy bras for their
Yeah,
sisters, is what
that's
I've
what
learned.
I've started to now realize with the
You've
help of
realized now
other
that was a
people.
faux pas in your assumption about what your brothers wanted to purchase you.
Exactly, yeah. So I never even got around to asking them for it. So I guess I just buy those. But that was on my list, and I'm gonna suggest to
Okay.
others that if you need to
You
ask
know
for
what?
those,
I feel like that's a
go
great
ahead
thing to
and
ask
do that.
romantic partners for.
That is a great thing to ask romantic partners for. And if you
Because
have
a lot of
multiple
romantic
romantic
part
partners, end up
yeah.
with multiple
Hmm.
sets
Because
of
here's my
bras.
thing is that typically, like if I just bought my wife bras
Yeah,
for Christmas, she would probably be grouchy at me.
right. Yeah,
But so knowing that there's permission to
yes.
choose,
Yeah,
that's like a nice gift to a
yeah,
partner, I think.
yeah.
Because
I
there's
think so.
nothing I want more than to choose
Yeah,
out lovely bras for my wife and
yeah.
then get to see her wear them one day, maybe if she chooses to let me. That's up to her.
Exactly, right? Yes.
But I know they're
Um,
there.
yeah. And I mean, some of the other, again, because I'm like a year into this journey,
Hmm.
I'm still like rebuilding a wardrobe as well.
Yes.
Man,
And
like
it
the
changes
wardrobe
in that
shifting,
first 3 years so
it's
much.
exactly, it's pretty big and it can get, I mean, like even through thrifting, like it still can get
Hmm.
pricey and it can be pretty difficult to be. I mean, some days I love just putting on like a hoodie and
Hmm.
jeans because it's just comfortable as hell. And
Hmm.
you try to do as much like reminding yourself that it doesn't matter what you're wearing. You know, gender is still what you are,
And
right?
that
But
femme
like
folks
sometimes
wear
it's
hoodies and jeans
all
all
the
day long
fucking
too.
time, yeah. But like it's it's tricky sometimes with what you end up putting on. So like clothing gift certificates is sometimes really cool idea.
Hmm.
Um, and then because I have 1,000 of them, tattoo gift cards because trans
Yeah,
people love their tattoos
we do. We
so
do.
much. And then one other thing, well, I mean, I could go on with gift ideas because
Hmm.
again, I got pretty personal and I love getting gifts. Um, but like just take her out and public, like to McDonald's or a fancy place or wherever you can afford and like be the person who like corrects misgendering for the night
Hmm.
and like does all of the really tiring social stuff for the night because like
Mm.
it is exhausting and like just be out in public and like just go overboard with how often you use she pronouns for someone who uses she pronouns
Hmm.
and like just be unabashedly like if I go out with someone and they're just like this is my girlfriend, she is amazing and people are just
Hmm.
loudly saying it
Hmm.
around other people, it's like okay, this is the gift for me. Like just be embarrassingly like sharing of pronouns and names and
That's such a
love and
nice.
everything. Like, and it's a low cost, like
Mhm.
just affirm, like just overwhelmingly affirm. Unless someone says,
Hmm.
okay, I think that's enough for tonight. You can probably put
Yeah.
away the affirmation machine for now. So yeah,
I
just some of
love
the
that.
things
That's
that
such
just
a
feel
good example.
great from, $500 tattoo gift cards to just, you know,
20 bucks at
yeah,
McDonald's.
$20 at McDonald's. You
And
get yourself a good Big Mac and use some sheeing
I mean,
So
hey, you can just share chocolate shakes if that's what floats your boat.
exactly, it's really whatever you're into, you go for
Hmm.
it. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, I mean, skin products, voice
Hmm.
training. That's something actually that has been something my parents got it for me. Like voice, like vocal
Hmm.
training course,
Yeah.
because as people may not know, estrogen does nothing to voices. It is not
Hmm.
like testosterone. There's no like
Yep.
for the feminizing hormones. There is no voice. There's no change to
Once the
voice.
vocal
So
cords have thickened, they thicken. There's
they thicken.
no,
Yeah.
it's just like when you take testosterone as a trans masculine person, whatever changes you have are irreversible to your voice.
Yep.
That's just
So
whatever happens when your vocal cords grow happens. And
that's
so,
that's what it is. So
hmm.
the vocal like training courses, and there are lots of great people on TikTok as well that you can just
Hmm.
take some hints from, but getting
Yeah.
a vocal coach too can be really affirming and helpful for
Hmm.
people. So lots of little things that are
Yeah.
from like, you know, clothes, makeup, skincare products,
Hmm.
bras to
And
things like that.
yeah, and I'll echo what you say with all of those things for trans masculine folk as well. I would say that the first 5 years of my transition was so expensive because I my size fluctuated in like such
Right.
remarkable ways. First, I bulked up. I got like what we call the baby face bloat in the trans mask world is like that first year on testosterone. You get like you like retain water differently, you get bloaty, and like none of my clothes fit. I just kept outgrowing them and outgrowing them and outgrowing them. And then all of a sudden that went away and I got super lean
Right.
and I was like, well, now I'm swimming and everything.
Yep.
And then once I leaned out, I started putting muscle back on. And so I fluctuated size so much that
Yep.
it was almost impossible to keep up with. And it
Right.
was like, yes, my wife was all like, well, I'm supportive and we want to make sure that you have clothes that feel good on you. And also we only have so much money and we
Yeah.
have all these children. And so here's what we can do.
Yeah.
Um, but like gift certificates to clothing stores were huge for the
Yeah.
first little bit for me. And it doesn't take much to like, oh, I love that shirt on you. Where did you get it? And then you know what store to go buy a gift
Hmm.
certificate in. And
Yeah.
specifically being able to buy certificates in stores that people can shop online,
Sure.
I have found is huge because for me anyway, going to a store and like trying clothes on was really difficult. And I imagine that that is probably similar for you.
It
I would
should.
always have to bring someone with me.
Yeah.
um, the first time I went shopping for a suit, I brought my friend Kelsey with me because she is like such a fashionista and a chatter that she was just like, okay, here we go. We're going to go to Topshop. And then she flirted with the sales guy and got a date. And I had someone that was like, very like, oh, he looks amazing in that, doesn't he? And like, exactly like you were saying, she is my friend who is like, she'll be the first person to self-identify as the bitchy person in the room that will say the uncomfortable thing
Yeah.
that no one wants to say. And so she was perfect at being like, oh my God, you look so handsome. Your shoulders are so broad. Doesn't he, Jeremy, tell him he looks so handsome in that. He looks, and Jeremy, like, yeah, bro, you look good.
Yeah.
Right. And like, Jeremy just wants a date with her, but I don't even
Exactly.
care.
Yeah.
I am like, yes, I do look good. Don't I, bro?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you need to go skinnier on that. You need to go thick. Like, it was just there was someone else there who was like in charge of the experience for me. So I didn't have to be driving the
Exactly.
bus
Yeah.
while having a traumatic experience.
Yep.
Because the truth is that even though it Kelsey was there and she was so helpful and all of those things, I still had to try suits on in a binder. I still nothing quite fit the way it was supposed to.
Yep.
A bunch of things like wouldn't do up around my hips, but they were too big in the legs and like just I am just a different, even now, after 6 years of testosterone and top surgery and a hysterectomy, I am just not shaped the exact same way. person assigned male at birth is. It's just, it's never, my bone structure is not going to change.
Yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to get taller. I'm not going to get smaller hips. I'm like, I can add muscle on to make my shoulders broader, but not, it requires a lot to really change the actual shape
Yeah.
of my body. And I'm just not, I don't have that kind of energy in my life. We're just going to be
No.
honest about it.
Yep.
I don't have
Yep.
that kind of energy in my life.
Yep.
Um, and so it was still hard. It still took a lot of energy, even though at the end of it, I walked away with a cool suit.
Yep.
It still took a lot out of me.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a lot. I mean, I remember I went into a store. I mean, I ended up ordering the dress I wore online, but I went in
Hmm.
with a partner to try on dresses to wear to a wedding, and I there's no chance I can do it without someone at this
No
point,
chance.
and
Yeah.
it's it's tough to do. So that idea of, again, if people are comfortable going into store and doing it,
Hmm.
that's great, but the having the option of
Hmm.
online ordering is, for me, still extremely important.
Yeah.
I still order most of my clothes online. I mean, I have social anxiety as well, so
Uh-huh.
there's a little bit of that piece as well. But I mean, like it's so helpful to have people who understand like the multiple complexities of going in. And I mean, it's sometimes hard enough to go in and walk into the women's section and
Yeah.
like just look through clothes.
Hmm.
Because like the last thing I want is to be in there, and even to just be addressed as like, are you looking for something for someone or something, right? Like even if it
Yeah.
comes to that level, it's like, okay, I'm out of here. Because
Yep.
I was like, back to the
Because
point
what
of,
they're saying is it shouldn't be you shopping for you here,
that's
right?
exactly it, right? It's
That's what
it's
they're saying,
again
even if
that
it's not what they
level.
actually say.
It's that level of, okay, you're not seeing me, so I can't do this right now. So it's that piece of like kind of identity work that I just can't
Hmm.
manage through. And it's gotten better for sure. But knowing that sometimes it's still bad, it's nice to have those
Yeah.
options to, if when things are difficult, to be able to just say, you know what, this is like the Christmas party dress I'm gonna wear this year, ordered online. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna order it, see how this turns out, and we'll go from there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, places where you can order online are good. And being able to providing a gift receipt or just like the regular receipt so people can exchange it. And we have a rule in our house that says this or something better, which means this or something that works better for you,
right.
that
Yeah,
you can always exchange your gift
yeah,
without feeling guilty about it,
yes,
because the point is for the gift to feel like a gift, not like a burden.
yeah,
And often when you give clothes, if you haven't talked about things like sizes or like very specifics,
yeah,
it would really stink to. I used to often get given gifts that would like end up being not the right size,
right.
and it
Yeah,
would be like too big. And so I'm like, well, that's super unaffirming actually, that like
yeah,
that actually, I'm like, because I'm a tiny leaf of a man, and that, like, and that mattered to me a long time ago.
right.
And or it would be like it just is nothing that I would wear. Like, it didn't feel affirming to me when I put it on my body, and so. But then it was like, well, I have this gift, and now what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah,
I'm now once again this ungrateful person who got a gift who can't use it. Like,
yeah,
and so having that permission to just be able to say this isn't quite right, and like that not hurt anybody's feelings,
yeah,
was really important to me.
yeah. I love that. It's actually a great. I mean, because it's the same thing with me. I mean, when I
Hmm.
put on clothes designed not for my body, like it is sometimes a little more difficult to be like, okay, well, this is obviously not for me, but like it is, I just may need a different shape or a different size, right?
Yeah.
So it's like trying to
Yep.
find the right thing. So the idea that someone has given me a piece of clothing doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. It's
Hmm.
just there may be something that works better for me. So
Yeah, it's
I
just
do
taking
like
the
that
spirit
thought.
of the gift rather than
The
being
item
set
itself.
on like it having to be
Yeah.
that item itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a
And
lot.
I think that that's probably not just true for trans people. I think that that's true for everyone. I think that everybody has a problem with their body in some way, shape, or form. You know, the I have 5 children with 5 different shaped bodies. I have many friends with different shaped bodies. We we've all heard our friend who's like that you would kill to have their body complain about like, oh my this or whatever, and
Yeah.
like I remember it being a kid and complaining all the time that I had the worst thigh gap because like my knee like literally everyone when I was a kid would call me toothpicks and ice cubes because my feet were so big but my legs were so skinny that they didn't touch each other,
Right.
and I like didn't fit in with the boys, but I also couldn't wear girls' clothes and fill them out properly either because I would like try and wear flared jeans and it would just look like baggy jeans and I would be like, meh,
Yeah.
you know. But my complaining about my skinny legs really probably did not feel good to some of my friends who did not have that problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's sort of like I actually think that that's a good lesson for everyone is that like all of our bodies have things. We all have these socializations for whatever reason about why ours aren't good enough. And giving people some grace to wear what feels good on their body is probably a good thing.
That is a good takeaway.
Look
I
at
will
us
happily
trans
gather
people
that.
leading the way
I
again.
know. Yay! Look at that. Is there anything else you want to add list wise?
I really liked, I got a suit from Catherine that one year. That was a big thing. And once again, she did the thing where she was like, I know this isn't like, she didn't get the right size on purpose. It was like, I
Right.
know this isn't the right size. This is not meant to be the right suit. This
Yeah.
is a placeholder that you're going to return.
Yes.
And then you're going to go get the right suit. And then it turned out that it was not returnable. She
Oh.
didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So what we did is we actually gave it to a trans nonprofit for them to use for their trans. They had a queer prom, and
Right.
so we gave it to the queer prom committee to give
Yeah.
away to someone who needed a suit. So it was like it sucked, but we also just chose to use it. I was like, well, all right, because it doesn't fit
Yeah.
me, so someone else will use it.
Oh, that's a
And some
nice.
really great kid wore it to his
Yeah.
prom, and then
That's a really nice
I got to see a
gift in
picture
the
of
end.
it, and it was like a double gift that just kept on giving.
No kidding. Oh,
Yeah,
I like that story.
yeah.
Uh,
What about you?
well, I don't have any nice story like that.
What about
I,
the awesome thing your parents did for you? I think last year at Christmas. Was it last year at Christmas that your parents did a wonderful thing
oh,
for you?
well, yeah, my mom, I'm thinking that we're talking about this. Is it the
Yeah.
changing the name on my stocking or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really, really nice moment. And I didn't know about it, which made it super nice. I mean,
Hmm.
but we still, my parents still fill our stockings. Um,
That's sweet.
we still go over there every Christmas morning. We still have our stockings filled. We still have everything done so nicely for us. But up until last year, it was a dead name stocking for reasons that are obvious. I had not changed my name until then. And
Hmm.
so last year, my mommy changed my stocking for me. And so now my teddy bear stocking has M on it. So they're all
Uh,
three of them, all three of us have the exact same stocking, just with different colors. They're all like teddy bears,
hmm.
and they're all probably 30 plus years old at this point. And
That's
somehow
awesome.
she managed to safely remove the old lettering and reapply M. And so it
I
was a
feel
really,
like,
it's one of those things that was like, that is better than gifts, right? So, like,
right.
and
The
to
fact that
talk
she
about
didn't
being
just make a
seen
new
is
one,
those
but
things. Yeah,
that
exactly.
she like fixed the past in this
Yeah,
way that like it mattered for her to like to rewrite right, you
yeah,
know, rather than just like, well, I'll just get a new one or
yeah,
put this over top. Like, I don't know, there's
yeah.
something symbolic about that that's
And it is
magical.
those like, because it's those moments of you're not a new person. Like you always existed. And this is just adding this to that person
Hmm.
that did always exist. So it
Yeah.
really, it is those small things that you see and can feel in the moment even, and is
Hmm.
like, oh wow, like that was a really big moment that felt really big. um
Yeah.
so that's why, like, I went over and it wasn't even hung up yet, it was just sitting there on like the ottoman, and I was like, oh wow,
All nonchalant.
yeah, like it's like, oh my goodness, that's a big
Hmm.
thing. It wasn't even
Yeah.
there to be presented yet, it just felt huge and nice and supportive to see that kind of thing. So yeah, those are the, like, additional gifts that you don't put on lists that end up being those kind of like lifelong memories that you just kind of hope you can create for people over
Hmm.
time, and that they do remember and kind of hold, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, if that's not a great spot to end a Christmas episode, I don't know what is.
exactly. I think that those two stories to me feel very nice and happy and warm, and I think I'm gonna go drink like hot chocolate or something now,
Yeah.
and feel like supported and happy. And now we have like a month to create like warm Christmas memories together on this
I
podcast. So
know.
we've got to do something like that. So
It's going to be a good time.
it is. Um, how about, because I've done this 4 times, how about you say a goodbye to people instead of me this time then? So
Cool. What are we, when are we coming back? I don't even know.
everyone is right now getting a feel for exactly how prepared and planned out we
How
are.
prepared are we?
I think
Well,
maybe uh, we will do a every 2 weeks. We'll share things with you,
yeah, I love that
and
idea. So
if
we'll
you
be back.
happen to get more than that, good for you.
Then aren't you a lucky duck?
So yes,
That's what I say.
that's a great
Okay,
one.
well, thank you so much for being here for a second puberty with Em and Nick. And we cannot wait to come back and talk about more things from our second time around this hormone ride in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.